It's time now for business. Yuka Rowe joins us here in France. President Macron has held the first of 2 days of international conferences focused on African finance. Day one about helping Sudan in its transition to democracy and to tackle its, fair to say, colossal debt.
$60 billion is estimated at Sudan's economy, Mark, is in deep crisis following decades of isolation with inflation at over 300%. Its current leaders have embarked on major economic reforms. That, plus the fact that the US has removed Sudan from its list of state sponsors of terrorism, enable the international community to finally start negotiating its debt reduction. France says it's ready to cancel some $5 billion worth of debt it is owed by Sudan and is also offering a bridge loan of $1.5 billion. Countries attending the conference are said to have largely agreed on clearing Sudan's arrears to the International Monetary Fund as well. Here's the French president speaking earlier today.
It's important that the transition be guided by these courageous economic reforms that you have begun implementing. The reduction of the Sudanese debts that will start soon is a first result of these reforms, and the return of Sudan to the international community must be strengthened on economic and political levels.
President Macron is hosting another major summit on Tuesday, this time focusing on ways to finance economies in sub-Saharan Africa to help them recover from the pandemic. Now, 3 years after its controversial foray into the entertainment industry, US telecoms giant AT&T is pulling back from the sector. The company has signed a deal to spin off Warner Media to merge it with Discovery. Claire Rush reports.
It was only 3 years ago that U.S. telecoms giant AT&T stormed into the media business, acquiring Time Warner Inc. for more than 65 billion euros. But looking to invest more in 5G and facing more than 130 billion euros in debt, AT&T is now shifting its focus away from entertainment. It's set to spin off its media and sports operations, including CNN, HBO, TNT, and Warner Brothers Studios, to combine them with Discovery Inc., which has channels in 220 countries, according to its website. In the U.S., it's largely known for its reality-based cable channels, including the Food Network and HGTV. The combination of two of the largest media operations in the U.S. effectively creates a new standalone company with the goal of creating one of the largest global streaming players. In a joint statement, the two companies said the deal will see AT&T receive $43 billion. Its shareholders will receive stock representing 71% of the new company, while Discovery stockholders will own 29%. Discovery Chief Executive David Zaslav, who will lead the new company, was upbeat about the news.
It is super exciting to combine such historic brands, world-class journalism, and iconic franchises under one roof and unlock so much value and opportunity.
For his part, AT&T Chief Executive John Stankey said the deal positions the new company to become one of the leading direct-to-consumer streaming platforms. The move underscores the extent to which the rapidly evolving media sector is becoming increasingly dominated by streaming.
Meanwhile, here in France, talks have been launched for a possible merger of TF1, the largest private TV channel, and M6, a smaller station. TF1's parent company, telecoms giant Bouygues, is set to be the biggest stakeholder of the merged company, taking a 30% stake, and M6's current head, Nicolas de Tavernost, would become chief executive of the new merged group, according to French media reports. Now, with that, let's check in on the day's trading action. And worries over rising inflation continued to weigh on the stock market globally, with tech shares leading a decline on Wall Street, as you can see, all finishing the day below the flat line there. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a partial truce in their trade battle. The European Commission announced it would suspend a tariff hike on American products that was planned for June for up to 6 months. The row began in 2018 when former US President Donald Trump imposed a 25% import tax on European steel and 10% on aluminium. Brussels responded with counter tariffs on 2.8 billion euros worth of US goods such as whiskey and jeans. In a joint statement on Monday, both sides said that as partners, they could try and hold countries like China to account for what they called trade distorting practices and tackle the larger problem of oversupply.
We create space to negotiate with the US. So our intention now is to engage with the US to find permanent solutions to the problems of overcapacity, and then this would lead to the suspension of the remaining tariffs that were put in place already in 2018.
As economies around the world start easing coronavirus restrictions, Britain lifted a ban on international travel this Monday. But only 12 countries and territories are on the government's green list, where people can travel to without needing to quarantine themselves upon their return home. While the resumption comes as a relief to the airline industry, the heads of British Airways and London's Heathrow Airport say it's not enough, urging the government to open up more routes and ease testing requirements. Meanwhile, Irish budget liner Ryanair posted a record annual loss of €1 billion after tax. The company says 2020 was the most challenging year in its history, with an 81% drop in its passenger traffic. And that's it for business for now.
Yuka, thank you very much indeed. Yuka Roy there with all the business. Time for a short break after that. Yes, more news. Stay with us here, live from Paris.
Regain, a town in the Algerian Sahara, whose name will forever be associated with French nuclear testing. For almost a decade, France used it as an open-air laboratory, exposing Algerian civilians and French soldiers to radiation.
On est des cobayes du nucléaire.
60 years later, French victims are starting to receive compensation, while Algerian victims are still waiting. Revisited returns to the ruins of Regain. Watch it on France 24 and France24.com.